Well, Patrick, what a season that was. I'd like to come on to a couple of your own personal highlights from the year in a second, but let's just wrap up the final few days of the Punchestown Festival. It was, well, a typically dramatic week, but we have to start with Gallop and Deschamps. Just how satisfying was that for the team there to see him do what he did on Wednesday?
Oh, sure, it was awesome. I mean, look, we were going into the race, obviously coming off getting beat in Cheltenham, and then, he hasn't been at his best in Punchestown a few times. But Paul said going down to the start, I think he was the fourth horse out of the breeding, but he said he pulled him past all the other horses going down to the start. He said he knew he was on song then. So, I mean, you saw he went down, he jumped the first, he winged it, and it was just a jaw-dropping performance. The way he jumped, the way he galloped him in the submission, and then how he came out of Paul's hands at the last. He's just an incredible horse. He's had 5 runs this season. He's got beaten twice, and yet to come back and put in a performance like that, he's a phenomenal beast.
Yeah, it's still very much sort of the flag bearer, isn't he? In your mind, is a third Cheltenham Gold Cup still a realistic aspiration, do you think?
Look, at 10, it's going to be very difficult. Very difficult at 10. And look, I know the way you're thinking. Obviously, is a hugely high class horse. But I suppose maybe looking at the 3 Mile Chasers this year, Lecky Watson, Ballyburn champ Kylie, you're thinking he probably could be very competitive against the younger horse coming through. So it maybe boils down to whether he can get back past. I know the way you're thinking, and obviously the slower the ground, the better. But I don't think the ground was fully the reason anyway for Cheltenham. The ground in Punchestown was on the slow side, probably a little bit slower than Cheltenham, but he never went in Cheltenham. So I think we have to try again, yeah.
But to get it done at Punchestown, it just looks so satisfying, and seemingly the crowd absolutely adored him.
Actually, they did. The public are really taken to him. Because he has this thing where he gets beat, he comes back. The way he jumps. He's not an efficient jumper. He's too high. He puts too much power into his jumps. He's a bit of a show off with his jumping, and he's so sparkling and black, a bit like the Dark Destroyer, as I've heard him called. But there was a fantastic reception from there. It was a great day.
Yeah. Now, Stateman, he had nothing to prove at the course there at Punchestown. I think this was his 6th Grade 1 win at the track. What a remarkable horse he's been for yourselves and the Donnellys.
That's it. I mean, look, we were so sickened about him in Cheltenham, because to win back to Champion Hurdle would have been so special. And
he was going to bolt up, wasn't he?
He was. And, I think he was probably going to put in a better performance in Cheltenham than he did in Punchestown, even if you're looking at a true golden ace. And look, it was a pity Constitution Hill didn't turn up. So, you probably would have expected Stateman to do what he did, but he did it again. He's had one bad run, which was that blowout at Christmas. And other than that, he just turns up day in, day out. So, it's a funny one. I mean, obviously, I think Constitution Hill probably is a horse with more ability, but going back to the likes of Duvan, the difference between greatness and being the best, I think most people, at the end of their careers, at the moment, it looks like Stateman, definitely at the moment, Stateman has more on the mantle board anyway, but obviously there's more time to go. But that was a race. He's only 8, yeah. But that was a race. The atmosphere of that race was fantastic. I mean, everyone was crowding around the parade ring to see Constitution Hill, and hats off to Nicky and Michael for bringing him over. And they cheered him down to the start. There was a roar when the tape went back. There was a cheer when they jumped the first. There was a roar when they came around the home bend. That was one of the best atmospheres of a race in Ireland I've ever been involved with.
And just looking back on it, Nicky Henderson said he feared the worst when he saw Constitution Hill just before the start. He didn't quite see himself in his sort of own demeanour. I presume, from your point of view, you'd love to see a horse like that come back, because he still has time on his side as well, doesn't he?
Definitely, and he will come back. I mean, Nicky's done this before with Sprinter Sacra and other horses. The ability is still there. It's just it was hard for the horse. It's hard after 2 falls, and you don't know until you get to the race course how much it's affected him. But obviously, that wasn't Constitution Hill at his best, and I hope we see him back at his best next year, and I hope we clash with him again.
Okay, Final Demand. I thought he was awesome in the Champion Novice. Again, in your view, is he sort of top of the pile now of this crop of novices at the yard, in your view?
Yeah, well, look, we were a little disappointed at Cheltenham, and perhaps Denman got beaten in that race, and I think probably the new line is probably going to be a Champion Hurdle horse.
Yeah.
Now I know the Yellow Clay beat him as well, and the Yellow Clay obviously underperformed the Punchdown. But I think probably the way Paul rode him in Punchdown, being very positive and making use of his stride and his jump, um, that's probably the way we like to ride him going forward. But then obviously setting up to 3 miles would be a big help for him as well. So look, from what he did at Punchdown and what he did at Leopardstown, the sky's the limit.
Okay, and I just wanted to mention Ponyross briefly as well. Is there a plan of sorts with him now? Because potentially he'll go back on the flat. I see he's rated, I think it was 91 on the level. Royal Ascot, Ebor, Melbourne Cup. Am I on the right lines here, Patrick?
Yeah, we're definitely going to consider that. He seems fine after his run. I think he'll be kept on the go, all being well. He was bought as a dual purpose horse. A lot of those Triumph hurdle horses are now, and yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see where he ends up. Yeah.
Okay, let's have a rundown of your top 3 moments of the National Hunt season this year, Patrick. I mean, I'll be shocked if I've not got number 1 nailed down, but let's start at number 3, if you don't mind. What stood out for you?
Yeah, well, look, I think fun. I got to win her beginner chase on her. So to complete the set of winning a bumper, a maiden hurdle, and a beginner chase on her. So obviously I bred her, and that made it very special. I don't. There's very few horses that you get to do that, to win in all 3 disciplines. And we bought her dam because she was a sister to York Hill, who I thought was going to be the next Cotto Star, which didn't quite work out. But the pedigree also goes back to Dooney's Gate, who's the first horse I ever rode in the Grand National, and the first horse I ever won a chase on. So that was very special. And she had a great season. She was 3 out of 4 for the season. So we got great enjoyment out of that.
Okay, in at 2, you did give me a hint here. Is this the slightly roguish and slightly well, the hugely talented Gaelic Warrior?
Yeah, definitely. I got a huge thrill out of winning on Gaelic Warrior in the bowl at Aintree. I mean, it's just a fantastic race. I've been watching. I remember Florida Pro winning it when it was the Martel, probably 20 years ago now, and to get back on him. And obviously, he's a bit of a puzzle of a horse, so I enjoy riding him, and it worked out on the day. I think I don't think he did. He obviously got interrupted at the start of the season. He needed the run at Christmas, and when you look back, he managed to beat Marine Nationale that day. Obviously, we didn't catch Solness, but yeah, that was a huge thrill. He's a fantastic horse. I've had a lot of look at him at 2 Grade 1 wins and 2 Grade 1 seconds and 4 rides on him. So to get to ride a horse like that is what every jockey dreams of, and to get it right and for it to happen on the big day in Aintree, that meant a lot.
Yeah, I think your efforts that day should be applauded. To get that enigma to win over 3 miles in a Grade 1 on a left-handed track was a fantastic day. It was really good to watch. And what could be top of the shop for you this season, Patrick? Could it be Aintree again?
Yeah,
in Liverpool.
Yeah. It was tight. Now there was a few others there, but no, like look, Nick Rocket was sure. It's the dream. It's the dream. It's the dream. It's the dream as a kid, but it's the dream as a grown up as well. Win the Grand National. I've dreamt about it so much, and what I do in different positions, and everything went so well on the day. It was great. I had a decent weight. I wasn't sweating, and I wasn't starving myself to ride the race, which was great. Obviously, to do it for my father, to have my mother there, to have Sarah, my girlfriend, there, it doesn't get any better than that. And
just on that then, Patrick, interesting, because I've read, I'm sure you have as well, Ruby Walsh's autobiography, and when he talks about winning the Grand National and doing it as a young kid on Papillon and what it meant to him, and it just sort of felt like that was the absolute peak of his career, just from a sort of psychological point of view as much as anything. Can you, I mean, I know you're a driven man and you've got a heck of a lot to look forward to, but how do you address that now going forward? Do you have to set yourselves new targets, or is it just a question of soaking that up and move on?
No, I mean, definitely. Look, Ruby won 2, so I suppose we can try winning it again anyway. And it's slightly different. When Ruby won it, they were the second Irish trained horse since Lescargo. Whereas when we were in the party afterwards, there was 5 of us in the pub: Rachel Blackmore, David Mullins, Paul Town, and myself, David Mullins, who all were involved in the Grand National winner. So it's slightly different now. But I mean, not that it's any less of a thrill, but there is when Ruby won it, Irish horses just didn't win the National. Whereas obviously that's turned around now. But no, for me, I mean, Paul and Rachel both want to go a cup, so I wouldn't mind getting a go on Gaelic Warrior and a go a cup maybe. But
Well, what
Uh,
about Nick Rocket then? Because the questions will come, won't it? At the start of next season, it will be, what's the target with him? Could he develop into a Gold Cup horse? Because he's ended the season on some high.
I mean, he definitely could, without doubt, because he's improving. He's improving. He surprised us hugely this year how much he's improved, and I imagine we'll have to see. I don't know what way Cheltenham and Aintree falls next year. We have to sit down and decide whether we're going to focus on Aintree again or whether we're going to give the Gold Cup a crack. So that's a possibility too. Yeah.
Okay, finally, have you got anything lined up in a couple of weeks' time? You've got the French Champion Hurdle and some big races over there. What's the team looking like for Auteuil?
Yeah, I think it's going to be light this year. It's only 2 weeks from Punchestown on, and I'm not sure we're going to have a whole lot for it this year, unfortunately. I've been booked to ride a horse in the French Prix Marshal Foch, which would be the French amateur fox hunters as such, on the Sunday. So looking forward to that. I've never had a winner in Auteuil, so hopefully try and tick that one off as well. But no, we're back. The season starts staying down Royal, but I'm in action in a hunter's chase and a bumper on Thursday in Tipperary, so we'll be dusting everything off and going back at it pretty quickly.
Fantastic. And you've always got the quest as well to ride a winner at every British racecourse still on the radar as well.
That's it. I think we've got 25 to go. So I think Stratford at the end of the month, we one for there in the hunter's chase.
Okay, all that's left for me to say is a big thank you from everyone at Sporting Life for your insight throughout the season, and obviously keep up the good work over the coming weeks and months. Thank you very much, Patrick.
Cheers, Matt.